Grandpa teaches English. Subscribe now.
I put the book on the table. I put the book on the table. The lamp is above the table. The lamp is above the table. I place the cup on the desk. I place the cup on the desk. The clock is above the desk. The clock is above the desk. I set the plate on the counter. I set the plate on the counter. The light is above the counter. The light is above the counter. I leave the bag on the floor. I leave the bag on the floor. A shelf is above the floor. A shelf is above the floor. I put the key on the shelf. I put the key on the shelf. A picture hangs above the shelf. A picture hangs above the shelf. I put the laptop on the desk. I put the laptop on the desk. The fan is above the desk. The fan is above the desk. I place a notepad on the table. I place a notepad on the table. A poster is above the table. A poster is above the table. I set the bowl on the shelf. I set the bowl on the shelf. The window is above the shelf. The window is above the shelf. I leave the phone on the sofa. I leave the phone on the sofa. A light is above the sofa. A light is above the sofa. I put the box on the cabinet. I put the box on the cabinet. A clock hangs above the cabinet. A clock hangs above the cabinet. I put the towel on the rack. I put the towel on the rack. The mirror is above the rack. The mirror is above the rack. I place the spice jar on the counter. I place the spice jar on the counter. The cabinet is above the counter. The cabinet is above the counter. I set the remote on the sofa arm. I set the remote on the sofa arm. The lamp is above the sofa. The lamp is above the sofa. I leave the shoes on the rug. I leave the shoes on the rug. A picture is above the rug. A picture is above the rug. I put the soap on the sink. I put the soap on the sink. A light is above the sink. A light is above the sink. I put the pen on the notebook. I put the pen on the notebook. A shelf is above the notebook. A shelf is above the notebook. I place the fork on the napkin. I place the fork on the napkin. The chandelier is above the table. The chandelier is above the table. I set the basket on the floor. I set the basket on the floor. A coat hook is above the floor. A coat hook is above the floor. I leave the glasses on the nightstand. I leave the glasses on the nightstand. A wall sconce is above the nightstand. A wall sconce is above the nightstand. I put the pot on the stove. I put the pot on the stove. A vent is above the stove. A vent is above the stove. I put the candle on the fireplace. I put the candle on the fireplace. A mirror is above the fireplace. A mirror is above the fireplace. I placed the book on the coffee table. I placed the book on the coffee table. The lamp is above the coffee table. The lamp is above the coffee table. I set the cushion on the bench. I set the cushion on the bench. A shelf is above the bench. A shelf is above the bench. I leave the mug on the patio table. I leave the mug on the patio table. An umbrella is above the patio table. An umbrella is above the patio table. I put the papers on the counter. I put the papers on the counter. The clock is above the counter. The clock is above the counter. I place the mouse on the mat. I place the mouse on the mat. A shelf is above the mat. A shelf is above the mat. I set the flower pot on the ledge. I set the flower pot on the ledge. A window is above the ledge. A window is above the ledge. I put the key card on the terminal. I put the key card on the terminal. A camera is above the terminal. A camera is above the terminal. I leave the headphones on the stand. I leave the headphones on the stand. A light is above the stand. A light is above the stand. I place the tray on the ottoman. I place the tray on the ottoman. A painting hangs above the ottoman. A painting hangs above the ottoman. I place the coin on the tray. I place the coin on the tray. A light is above the tray. A light is above the tray. I set the vase on the pedestal. I set the vase on the pedestal. A painting hangs above the pedestal. A painting hangs above the pedestal. I put the glass on the coaster. I put the glass on the coaster. A shelf is above the coaster. A shelf is above the coaster. I leave the book on the rug. I leave the book on the rug. A mirror hangs above the rug. A mirror hangs above the rug. I place the pillow on the chair. I place the pillow on the chair. A lamp hangs above the chair. A lamp hangs above the chair.